Welcome back to The Pour. I'm Adam Montiel. Before we get started, a quick reminder. We are still taking reservations for our unforgettable Danube River cruise with Jordan Fiorentini of Epoch Estate Wines, Nita and Kunal of LXV, and of course our friends from Cork Cruise. I've only do Alma Waterways, and I've done Alma Waterways for now over 10 years. They're the absolute best in my book. And the last couple trips doing Alma Waterways with Cork Cruise, I tell you, made all the difference. We'll set sail November 2027. And I would love for you to join us. And go to adammontiel.com, click on the cruise tab and get all the details. All right, today, recording at my Slow Cal studios in the heart of San Luis Obispo County, California, Slow Cal, where the wine is world class, the people are real, and life is too beautiful to rush. Visit slowcal.com for turns well taken. That's SLOCAL, slowcal.com. All right. When people think of Paso, they think bold reds, but there is absolutely another story unfolding here, and it's one that's been years in the making. The Paso Robles White Wine Guild. This is not just a club that anyone can join, you will learn. Membership is earned. Wineries have to demonstrate a serious commitment to producing exceptional white wines and a certain amount of them before they're even considered. It's a group dedicated to really raising the bar, changing perceptions, and proving that Paso Robles belongs in every conversation about world-class white wine. And that passion will be on full display at the White Wine Invitational happening August 1st. We've got all the links in the show notes. Joining me today, three of the people helping lead this movement. Natalie Brown of Willow Creek Wine Co., Dave McGee of Monochrome Wines, and Ryan Pease of Paso Terre. If you've ever wondered why Paso's white wines are creating so much buzz, or why this event continues to grow every single year, you are about to find out. Let's go.
For the last 15 years, Adam Montiel has been bringing you the stories, the people, and the producers that make wine better and more fun. Whether you're a connoisseur or a cork, here we taste it, we spill it, we leave it all on the table. It's The Pour with Adam Montiel.
Super excited. I love white wine. I just love it. And here we got a bunch of great white wines in one four-wall space with three people who love it even more than I do, because they actually make it. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
This is fun. The White Wine Invitational. This is going to be great. Ryan, thank you for getting a hold of me again with this.
Of course.
I think this is our third year.
Yes, correct. It's the third
cool.
annual. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about all of the brands here because we got Natalie here from Rococo and Willow Creek Wine Co. That was the voice of Ryan Pease from Paso Terre. And then Dave from Monochrome in the house, who only does white wine. That is a white wine supremacist. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get yourself in trouble talking that way.
I know. But that's why you leave it to me to come.
White wines matter, you know?
Yeah, right. Well, they certainly do. We're going to be showcasing them coming up. Tell me the day, the time. When are we all getting together, Ryan?
August 1st from 4 to 7 is the plan. And we're at Rava facility, gorgeous facility out there.
Are you growing every year?
Yes, we are.
Yeah?
Yeah, we started with, like 150-ish the first year or
just
so.
6 or 7 wineries pouring.
Yeah, and then last year we went up to, I think it was 11 wineries and 220, 30-ish people, and then we're shooting for 400, and we have 21 wineries
400 people?
That's the idea.
Wow.
Well, the cool thing about Rava is that they just have this incredible
Yeah,
space.
it's a great space.
And they can basically make it feel bigger or smaller and literally go as big as you want.
It's a
So
good
we just
point.
have all the flexibility that we want.
400 people, 21 wineries. That's a good number.
Mhm.
It's a great number. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's the best price in town, too.
And are
Well,
these,
and everybody's bringing at least 3 white wines to that event. So
That's
there's going to
cool.
be probably somewhere over 60 white
Yeah.
wines there to taste.
and this kind of, I don't know how this evolved within the White Wine Invitational, but we have now a White Wine Guild, which is a small group of wineries that is ideally to grow, but grow with all one mindset. And these are also brands that have at least 3 white wines that they make.
Correct. So I'll let them elaborate more, but in general, we're trying to work with a group of wineries that have an overarching ethos and focus on white wine. And it's not just to check a box in the tasting room. It is a lifestyle. It is an obsession,
Yeah.
essentially. And so this is, I don't know if there's any other peer chosen events that exist like this.
How many unicorns are there besides you, Dave? Are there any other brand? Is there any other brand that doesn't have any red wines?
I don't think there is. I mean, aside from Rococo, which is kind of a sub-brand of Willow Creek, but Rococo is only whites.
Rococo's only whites. Canaro.
Rococo's only Chenin. Canero's only Chenin. Whites.
Well,
But
Canaro.
part of a larger brand, yeah.
Canaro does make a rosé.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that count?
Ooh, what do we? Yeah, does that count?
It depends how red or how white it is.
Well, let me ask you. Here's the real litmus if it counts. Are you letting people bring rosé to the White Wine Invitational?
No.
I thought there was rosé. No. Okay,
No.
there's no rosé.
What if somebody, because Paso is famous for the under the table.
Indeed.
If somebody brings a rosé under the table, do you give them side eye?
I think if it had very little to no color and looked like a white wine, kosher. But we're trying to really stay on this focused path as much as we can. And I mean, even Rava, who hosts it, they're not pouring their brut rosés at this tasting. Essentially, they're just pouring their blancs.
Let's talk about the impetus of this group, Dave. Obviously, no one is diving in deeper than you because, again, no red SKUs in your brand. Monochrome literally means one color. We got just white wines. Talk about why this was really important to you to find other people and have touch points with other brands that think like-minded to you.
Well, I think if you look at the history of Paso wine, it's really been dominated by red wines. And the mind share was that Paso was a red wine country. And to the extent people made white wines, it was in most cases kind of an afterthought. I mean, there were definitely a few that put in the effort and made some really good ones. But for the most part, that was kind of the exception. And that's really started to change the last 10 or 15 years. And I think we felt that we needed a group effort to try to communicate that message, that white wines, not only could they be complex and interesting and have a lot of character to them, but also Paso is, it turns out, a really good place. And Paso, the broader area around Paso, is a really good place. And part of that is because there's so many microclimates around the Central Coast area that a huge variety of different varieties can do quite well here, which is really almost unique in California, which I think is really good. So, we started this up and we started thinking about, well, who in the area is clearly putting in the effort to make not just white wines, but quality white wines. And it's really an important and central part of their overall program. Not that they had to make only white wines, but clearly they were putting in the effort to make some good ones. And so we started out, as Natalie said, with, I think, what was it, like 7 or 8 initially. And then we bumped it up to 11 last year. And then this year we bumped it up to 21. And that's not really a sign of us lowering our standards so much as I think a lot more wineries are now making more white wines and putting in the effort to make good ones.
Yeah.
So the White Wine Invitational is really one part of the overall effort that we're planning on doing a lot of other things, but the overarching goal is really to not only spread the word of the quality white wines here in Paso area, but also encourage winemakers and wineries to take those steps to make good white wines.
When it's in the title that it's an invitational, yet you're still kind of new, I'm sure some of your homies call you up and go, dude, I'm down to pour, or I'd love to get involved. You know what I mean? Yeah. How do you feel? Because I'm sure there's probably some times you do or want to say, especially if you're a choosy group, that you're going to say, no, this is an awkward moment I have to know more about.
There was a couple awkward conversations. There's been a few wineries that were the next year going to meet the threshold, essentially, and they had already put in that large investment, but maybe didn't have the SKUs in bottle yet. A couple brands, for instance, that are on track to add next year, Copia and Haleotide. They didn't technically qualify last year. Copia will have an entire full white wine program next year, and Haleotide has 3 blancs now. So it's a moving, breathing thing from that standpoint.
Is it just that the 3 SKUs, or do the 3 of you as like the guild founders really come together and go, this brand meets what we kind of embody, or they don't?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, quality was one of the key things we wanted to ensure that we had, because if we're fighting the image that Paso white wines are kind of meh, last thing you want to do is have more meh wines, right? So initially we were trying to eliminate just it being, my favorite buddies or Ryan's or Natalie's. And so we were looking at, do you have a history of good critic scores from whatever critic you want to point to, just to take our personal preferences out of it. Recently, now that we've got a larger group to lean on, it's sort of like a consensus. Do we think they're making good white wines and putting in the effort? And if so, and if they're making 3 of them, then they're a candidate.
Yeah, so 21 people. Natalie, tell me about your white wines. I know we had a great episode of Where Wine Takes You. Rococo, again, those are only white SKUs.
Yep.
And what did you bring with you? What are we drinking right now? And what's the rest in your program? Remind me.
Yeah, so Rococo is only Chenin Blanc, mostly old vine Chenin from different vineyards on the Central Coast. In our glass here, we have the Shell Creek Chenin, which is from the Highlands District. It's on the east side of Paso, where, I mean, here in Paso and when I'm traveling, across the state, so many people ask, oh, can you even grow white grapes out there? Can you even grow Chenin? And so I think it's just a testament and a talking point about how appropriate a lot of the terroir of Paso is for a lot of white varieties. But yeah, Rococo's all Chenin. And I actually started this project 10 years ago because I was working at a winery that didn't make any white wines. And I wanted more of that in my life, both on the production side, on the business side. And now look at how much, we're still talking about a sliver of the market, but there's a lot more energy behind Paso white wines than there was just 10 years ago.
If I could jump in here and follow up on something that Natalie said about Paso being appropriate for a lot of different varieties, I think that was one of the things that was really an eye-opener for me when we convened this larger group of 21 and we sat them all down at Rava. And it occurred to me
Did you sit them all down like a summit?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I thought it was really intense.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of Godfather-esque with the board, the original board. And
we have invited you all here.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
But the really astonishing thing is when I looked around that table, all these 21 producers all have different programs. You look at the three of us here, our programs are totally different, and that expands out to the 21. A couple might be focused on Italian varieties. Union Sacre is focused on Alsatian. There's one focused on Greek. And you contrast that with, say, like Russian River Valley. They make fabulous wines, but you're going to get pretty much all Chardonnays for the most part, with a few exceptions. And I think that's one of the unique things about the Paso area is it's amenable to so many different varieties and so many different styles. And
what's the craziest one you've seen? The craziest one you've heard where you're like, oh my God, this works so good in Paso. Any surprise?
Echo's one of the up and comers, the Greek varietal.
They're doing great stuff.
So Assyrtiko is we planted a little bit of Assyrtiko and Muscofilero on our property, and super bummer, it ended up being virus. We took it out. But that was before I started talking to the Boots folks, and so you can't get Assyrtiko commercially. That's why we got like a tiny amount from FPS at UC Davis. I'm pretty certain that they did the same thing. And so the fact that they're growing that out on a commercial level, honestly, is just incredibly impressive.
That's
because
cool.
The time, but also, so if Assyrtiko is that variety that I want to say, I could be wrong, and maybe it's Santorini, but that's the variety that, they literally weave the vine around in baskets on the island because it's so damn windy and hot. And where I live, it is really windy and hot. And I was like, oh yeah, I think that could work here.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I think projects like that are inspiring, and especially when you have like that multi-generational family aspect too.
The flip side of that, though, the hot climate is, I get some Gewürztraminer with Xavier from, up closer to the Monterey Bay, but I think it says that, plus or minus 100 miles from Paso, there's just an astonishing range of different climates. And to think that you could get, great Assyrtiko and great Gewürztraminer within a 100-mile radius of each other is really, I think, almost unique in the wine world.
Yeah, it's super cool that's the case here. Let's talk about Chenin for a second. I love Chenin. I know, obviously, you do to a huge extent. Just a little bit. It's an obsession. I was talking to Daniel Sinton. Do you get some of that Shell Creek?
That's his fruit. This is his fruit.
Yeah. The story is so cool.
It's incredible. They have been
old OG vines.
Yes. And also just like an OG family. I'm a first generation farmer. We bought our land, made it a farm 10 years ago. And so to be able to work with a family like that has this multi-generational knowledge.
A lot of questions. That's a phone I would call if I needed to.
He's even just about, they're cattle ranchers.
I know. He knows the land.
Every time I see him, I learn so much.
I know.
And I'm like, God, could I just hang out with you and teach me about cows?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
You just feel like a second uncle to me or something. Uncle Daniel.
Yeah. But they've got a great story, and the vines just show, what old vines can do. They were planted in 1972. They were planted on their own roots. Everyone's like, what about phylloxera? I'm like, I don't know. They don't have it. Yeah. It's just a really cool site.
And just the idea of there was so much, from what I've learned, so much Chenin here, before, and they took a lot of it out, put Chardonnay in. I was like, huh? And now we know that Chenin is like such a great, it does so well in so many different spots here.
It's an old school grape for California more broadly, and I think Paso Robles is a great expression of this, but it was once one of the most widely planted varieties. And you find these old pockets that were planted in the 60s, the 70s, and you ask the growers still farming them, like, why did you do that? And they're like, because that's what you planted. Back then you planted Chenin. And so Paso is not unique in that, but I do think that one of its assets is that it has particularly the Shell Creek vineyard, which is a large planting, but it has these old vines still and weren't all planted over to other kind of more fat varieties.
Yeah. You play with Chenin Blanc?
I do not.
Why not?
I stick specifically to Rhone varietals as just a not wanting my level of nerdiness of where I could want to go if I don't have any boundaries would become very confusing for the consumer. But there's plenty within the Rhone focus that keeps me inspired. And there's still other things down the road within that realm that I still am just starting to achieve and will be achieving. So there's excitement there still. You know, I haven't needed to branch out yet, but a lot of it has to do with some of those more obscure Tablas Creek varietals that they brought over are now readily available.
Yeah.
And I get to play with those now. And so that's kind of my next endeavor.
What about you, Chenin Blanc, Mr. Dave?
Yeah, I worked with it for probably, 4 years or so. I was getting it from Jurassic Park, further south of here, another old vines.
Los Olivos area.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool spot.
And it was fun. I stopped because I tend to kind of move along and do different things. And
you get bored with something?
I get bored easily. And it was becoming a little bit too popular for my tastes. I don't know. I tend to not do what everybody else is doing sometimes. But also I found that at least the stuff from Jurassic, and I've heard this from everyone else who's worked with it, it tends to want to go reductive all the time.
Horribly reductive.
And it was just like this big battle trying to keep it from going too reductive.
Chenin likes to be all Chenin likes to be reductive.
Yeah.
That side needs pump overs as a white wine.
So like a little bit, maybe, yes, but too much, it can be too much.
It likes its, I feel like, so the first couple of years I worked with it, I was like, what? This is not what I'm used to, especially come off of working with like Viognier. But once I got the hang of it and developed my style around the grape, now I love it in its, at all stages of its life, during fermentation, post-fermentation, it wants to be reductive. And so it allows me to work with the fruit and not be like stressed about hyperoxidizing it.
If someone's listening in reductive, let's talk about that for a second, because I love breaking that down. This is the opposite of oxidated, right? Yeah. It's almost like that matchstick kind of.
It can smell like eggs.
It could smell like oak.
Yeah.
It could smell like eggs.
Yeah.
So I guess where we talk about it going too much, right, Dave?
Yeah, but I mean, I think to Natalie's point, sometimes it does go through cycles. And I had a couple barrels that they were too reductive when I was doing the blending, and I didn't include them in the barrels. And then I set them aside for like 6 months.
And they came around.
Then I decided I was going to do a kind of a keg project, and I was like, okay, it's fabulous now.
Wow.
I kind of ignored it for about 6 months.
That's
and it went
interesting.
Away. Yeah.
Well, a keg of Chenin, that sounds like a great BTG program to me. I love it. That's great. Okay, so the event, August 1st, it's at Rava. We have 21 different producers. This white wine is beautiful. I love it. Love Chenin Blanc. And would you say this has become your flagship wine, like the one that you become most known for, this Uni Blanc Rheinpies?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. We've released half of our 25 whites, and this one sold out already. This was the most we ever made. It was 180 cases of it.
Wow.
And didn't make it to summer, sadly. So we planted another 1.1 acres of the same plant material in an adjoining block to set this on a more sustainable path yield-wise.
So you're trying to scale a little bit.
Yeah. Whites in general, we're pushing almost 1,000 cases of white out of our program these days. And then I just grafted 1.25 acres of Graciano at Moon Springs Vineyard over to half Picardin, half Claret Blanche for 2 new whites that we'll introduce to the program in a couple of years.
Do you see with the way premiumization is having its way, not just in wine, but of course in Paso too, that a white wine is still a better deal? It's a better buy.
Without a doubt. Absolutely. I mean, it to meet a moment, like I was just having lunch at Edo's Pasta Bar before this, and I brought a Verdicchio from the La Marche in Italy, and it's stuff's $12.67 wholesale bottle. It's absolutely crushable. And I sent a picture of it as I was having it with food to Brian Terizzi and said, hey, this is a wine you can put on the list for $40.
Yeah.
And young people, lunch hour, that's that price point that absolutely hits. Anything 40 or under, it's a no-brainer, especially for a good bottle of wine. And Brian was like, text right back, yeah, I'd like to move more wine at lunch hour kind of thing. And that would be a price point that would get us to that. I'm like, there are some gems, like that. And I think just white wine provides a price point that meets a more casual moment in a lot of ways, or it's just hot and you need something refreshing. But then second, the way we eat's changed a lot, and we're not the steakhouse culture that we used to be, and farmers market and fish and vegetables are a big part of our diet now, and big red wines don't meet with that. And so I think personally, with our climate being hot and the way we eat these days, white wine is what needs to be at the table most of the time.
And because reds can be, a lot, and you see prices doing what they do, I think that sometimes even just like DTC, like a white wine might be a better buy. There's such great quality around it. White wine might be a better buy. I'm curious though, because of that premiumization, because brands like Rococo, Monochrome, you're only doing white SKUs, there's a lot that's going into these wines, whether it's great fruit, good contracts, good relationships, a lot of great winemaking. How do we decide to price these wines? And I'll go to Ryan next, but with you two being that these are the only things you're doing. So you're not going to be charging likely. I mean, there's probably some brands that could charge $70 for a white, but not many people are charging crazy amounts, So where do we decide, both of you guys sit with your pricing, and how do you even view it, on the whole, Natalie?
Yeah, it's all a thing. It's a very complex and good question. And so I kind of want to like wrap up what Ryan was saying to move into this, because what I find, so we also do make red wines underneath the Willow Creek Wine Co. And when people like visit our winery, they're visiting the Willow Creek Wine Co. and tasting our Rococo Shennons and our Willow Creek red wines, which have a spectrum of their own price points. Some of them are pretty close to our price points for our single vineyard Shennons. And so when I look at that, and then I look at, I'm like the sales, marketing, everything for our winery. So when I look at that and I look at like what's selling and what's trending, and also we now offer a white wine flight so people can come in and taste only Shennons. When I look at that, and then I look at what people are actually buying, I do think there's certainly a level of white wine being a better value if you're looking at, okay, this is 750 milliliters of wine, and how much does it cost? But I think regardless of price, it is what people are gravitating towards right now. And in terms of my pricing, I certainly want to run a profitable business and be able to pay my bills and feed my kids.
Yes.
But I want the wines to be accessible. Yeah. And that means different things for different people. But I specifically price one of our Shennons to always be that like approachable by the glass pricing. Same fruit, same wine. It's just a blend of the three single vineyards. And it's always going to fit this space. Hopefully, we'll see how inflation goes, but always going to fit this space where it's accessible, and even for like distributors and restaurant lists, because I think that we're all just seeing this momentum and this energy behind white wines, both in a kind of the broader national sphere, and then also what that means for visitors coming to Paso.
Good answer. I love that. That's such a thoughtful answer. Dave, what do you think, bro?
Well, I think when I started Monochrome, it seemed like the general consensus was that most people expected white wines to be in like the $15 to $20 range.
Yeah.
And
I think we're past that, though.
Yeah. And so when I first came out, and mine ranged from 35 to 50 at that point, a lot of people were sort of taken aback.
Who does he think he is?
Well, yeah, there was some of that, but I think when you think about it, and I've had a lot of people and a lot of critics recently say that at $50, they're remarkably underpriced.
Yeah, no, they bring value. They're for sure.
But, I think all of us would probably agree that we put as much or more thought and effort and attention into our best white wines than anybody else does in their best red wines.
Absolutely. Don't I always hear like people say rosé is a really tough wine to make, make it beautiful and perfect.
It's my least favorite wine to make.
You know what I mean?
Getting that color and the flavors, like, good luck.
It's the only wine that people enter with a visual experience first.
Yeah.
And if that color does not invite wanting to dive into that, you have no chance.
That's sexy and platinum.
To get that color requires not quite the most standardized winemaking techniques.
How did Tavel get away with it?
Well, they ferment on skins for a period of
so it's a
time.
But they've suffered too. Like if you visit and you talk to the Tavel producers, they're like, we have been for the past 10, 15 years progressively making our wines lighter and lighter.
Yeah,
because-
Tavel, obviously notoriously for someone listening and not knowing, like they almost look like Eberle's red wines pre 2015.
Yeah, yeah.
You remember? And then like Chris Eberle came there and he's like, hell no.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they have much. They're dark. They're dark.
They're
rosés.
delicious, but the
Yes.
consumer doesn't visually understand
Yes.
why that is.
But I love that point. People, I mean, you can't discount just because the price may be what it was.
Right.
You know, these wines are just as difficult to dial in some cases even harder than just, you know, maybe a red wine that lets you put it on autopilot. I mean, obviously some of these red wines are very tough too, but white wines, they're up there in difficulty to master as well.
Well, and it's something we've talked about within our group also. I think it's a good thing that more of us are getting good pricing for our white wines because it not only conveys quality, but it also helps us make the argument to growers that they should be planting more white fruit in their vineyard because that all trickles down. You know, if we can get more money for our bottles, then we can afford to spend more money on the fruit.
Until they tell you like 8,000 a ton, and you're like, wait, but this is white wine.
Yeah, exactly. And Ryan and I have commiserated that sometimes our success in making good wines we've been penalized by having to pay higher fruit prices for that, you know, which, okay, I get it, you know, but it's kind of ironic. That
well, they see the popularity, they see how you're doing. And so this Uni Blanc is beautiful.
Thank you.
Natalie, talk about this Uni Blanc for a second. Have you tasted it yet?
Yeah, well, actually.
Okay, if you've tasted it, give me a little something, Dave, or whoever can first. I want someone else but Ryan to talk about it.
Bright and limey and zesty and oysters.
Yeah, it's always been such a fun wine.
A salty oyster shell kind of thing on the finish, always.
Yeah.
But the 25 vintage brought a lot of texture to the whites that we can't normally achieve because most of my white grapes hung 2 to 3 weeks later than usual.
Did you go after the rain?
I didn't. My last white was October 1st. Was people, so I was off before the rains.
Yeah.
But in general, my Uni got a couple more weeks. The Peak Pool got another week. Vermentino everything got a little more time, and they just developed this mouthfeel that we don't normally get at the pH we're seeking to make our wines. And so it's the best white wine vintage of my career to this point. And I'm blending the reds right now, and I'm pretty sure they're the best reds I've ever experienced as well too. And 25 is just a lot of fun. It's a beautiful year.
I'm going to pause really quick. Hold
on. I did have one more thing I want to say regarding plantings and grafting.
Literally get right into it. Go ahead. Perfect.
Another aspect of this difficult and changing wine market right now is that there's a lot of unsold fruit on the market, and it's providing this group of people a lot of opportunity to have real conversations with growers that have the reality that they don't have a buyer and go, well, let's turn those 40-year-old vines or roots into something that we can use for the next 30 years. And taking, in instance, the Graciano block that no longer has a market, I turned it into half Picardin and Claret. That's a 30-year contract now for this grower, and put something on took something off the market that didn't need to be there. That was a mistake in general, and then put 2 things on the market that are needed and are a future growing entity for me to grow into. And so we have right now the best opportunity we've ever had as white wine producers to do the geekiest things we ever in the back of our mind had that we never thought in reality could occur.
Yeah.
Literally is in reality occurring now.
Have you talked to Neil Maloney of Moira Bay Oysters? Have you done things with him with these?
So we do have an oyster. We did talk to him. We couldn't make it work for him.
It's their anniversary weekend.
Yeah. Oh, that's
yes.
But I mean specifically with their Uni Blanc.
So we do have an oyster purveyor for this event, though, that will be shucking oysters and doing plates of that. And on the food-wise, too, we have Core Kitchen, who's Afghan food, coming to do that. Bury Me and Pizza as well, too. And then Katie Prescott, who has her own private catering company up in North County.
Of course.
And I do want to say that we're doing early bird pricing until, is it June 1st? Or June 1st?
I can't remember if it was June 1st or July 1st.
I think it was July 1st.
July 1st.
Okay.
Early bird pricing until July 1st. And then it'll just go up a bit. But also, the oysters are available on pre-sale. So when you're buying your ticket on Talk, you just gotta, and that's just, they're so perishable. So she's going to bring what she can sell. But they are available on pre-sale when you're getting your ticket.
Smart. That's a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
And you got your 6 oysters already paid for, ready to go for you.
I love it. They'll feel free.
Yeah,
by the time you
exactly.
show up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, girl math.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. Dave, tell me what we're pouring next, my man. What you got here?
Yeah, so this is kind of like the first ticket to admission for what I did in the 2025 vintage, which is kind of go down the rabbit hole of a whole bunch of historical influences and wines from long, long ago. And so this is kind of an unusual, to say the least, combination. It's about 35% Albarino that was done on skins and stems in the amphora, left there for 9 months. And then there's another component that Matthew Lucy from Parker's group was bugging me to try to do some sherry. And so I thought, well, that might be kind of a fun thing. So I got some late harvest Albarino, brought it in at about 26 and a half bricks, thinking that I would like not top it off, let a floor layer develop over it and that sort of thing. Do kind of a pheno sherry project. The floor layer didn't develop. Floor layer, by the way, is a layer of yeast that builds up on the top of the wine when you don't top the barrels. So I ended up with kind of some high bricks Albarino that I kind of let oxidize, get a little bit more of that oxidized style. It's got a touch of Retsina in it. It got some resin grease, and then it's got some just things to round it out. So it's kind of an unusual hodgepodge of things. But, a couple of critics said it, with that weird mix, it works far better than it has any right to work.
Yeah.
But
the color's cool.
Yeah, the colors just come some of that from the skin fermented components that I did in the amphora.
Yeah. So it's not, it is skin contact then a little bit. In the amphora. How long?
9 months.
Wow. So this is some real white mouthfeel, real white phenolics there. That's cool, dude. Yeah. What a beautiful wine. How fun is this? You think this will age well?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there oak on here? Or is it just that
very
qualities?
little? There's some neutral oak and some of the other components that went on.
That's a fun one.
So not a lot, but a little bit.
Cool.
What do you like about this one, Ryan?
I think with Dave's wines, always for me, it is a snapshot of completely taking me out of not just the norm, but even pushing the envelope. That they're what Dave does is he plays in this realm of thought with, to me, like now he's brought in this historical aspect in his latest vintage, but they were always wines that just came with no boundary before them and essentially just made this wide array of flavors and then went to the blending table with it and make it and see how they all can work together. And it basically, in essence, one large experiment. But it works way better than an experiment should, in essence. And that's what's always been riveting about Dave's wines is when he explains to you all the components that go in and you're like, this in theory should not work. It's too much stuff. And the wine shouldn't have this cohesion to them, but all his whites do have
it's
this
so
cohesiveness.
interesting, Dave. Like this is almost like the greatest compliment, or it's almost like this backhanded compliment.
Well, no, I want to add into that. So,
I love it.
I mean, we're all working with what you could describe as like alternative white varieties, and so we all kind of float into, I would not describe any of our wines as fitting into the natural wine scene, but I feel like we're all kind of on the edges of it because we're not making Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay. Yeah. And so there's a lot of expressions of wines out there where people do experiment and just do weird stuff and you taste it and you're like, okay, yeah. Dave's wines are lovely and beautiful and pretty and enjoyable and very, very interesting. And so that's a really nice combination because you can have one or the other, but to do it and make it taste good is really
How do we find out? Do we know the producers that are coming, all 21, or?
Yes, we do have that.
If you give me a second, I'll just pull up my phone.
Let's rattle them off.
Oh, man.
It's quite a good group. I said the original, we started with a really small group at the beginning because we were trying to figure out how to set this on the right path. Yeah. And we felt like with a larger group, it would be harder to get to that consensus to build the foundation for where we were going with this thing. Mm-hmm. And so we started with this smaller group that we all worked really well. It was a group project that worked really well together. Let's put it that way. And then once we felt like we had this kind of under control to where this thing was built enough and the foundation enough that it was worth, that we could then bring in the rest that deserved to be there. Essentially, that's kind of where we're at now.
That's so right.
Well, and also, mind you, none of us are, marketers, events people. I mean, we're all small owner-operated wineries, and we're the winemakers. So for us to come together and be like, let's throw an event,
it's a thing for sure.
Yeah.
And we don't get paid from this. This is completely like we donate the extra money to Must charities so that it stays local. This is just meant to be purely promotional for what we're pushing, which is this white wine movement,
That's
and give us a
awesome.
tool to broaden that message essentially and get ahead of the message. And so there's no confusion there that we're making the best white wines in the state of California right
Before
here in Paso.
you name these 21 wineries, I blew your mind yesterday or recently with what?
Oh God, what was that?
The
thing you
white
did?
wine emoji.
Yes, the white wine. Oh, yes.
I'm so excited.
That exists now.
Now it's on my phone,
and you can
too.
create your own emoji.
Yeah,
She
that's
gave
all
me
it
a
did. That's all
whole-
it did.
My whole lunch was consumed by this
Really?
revelation.
So I
essentially.
text you a white wine emoji which Apple does not give you, but if you have Apple, you can do that Memoji app, or you can use Apple Intelligence to make an emoji. And I know like Kendall Jackson has done marketing things like Unicode Consortium. We need a white wine emoji, and we do. We like you said off the air, we need a rosé emoji.
Yeah, we do.
It should just be like where you hold your thumb over it and drag on.
Yeah, and make your color.
So tell me what happens when you first see in your phone. Holy shit! Did he just text me a white wine emoji?
Well, that's why I was like, I've never seen that before. Then Natalie
That's how I
chimed
responded. I
in
was like,
like,
how did
"Is
you do
that
this?"
real?" Yeah. And then I asked my wife at lunch. I was like, "So this exists, but it's not in my phone."
Yeah.
And then she did a little Google search, and boom, for a note, we're making our own emoji, and we came to the same one that you did.
So good.
And here we are.
I love it.
See if I can get it on. Now I want it on like my email marketing. I want it on like the
Yeah, you
talk
want it in your
list.
signature.
I want it everywhere.
Right. Let's talk about these 21 producers.
Yeah. So if anyone's looking to purchase tickets, it is Google Willow Creek Wine Co. White Wine Invitational 2026.
I'll put links in the show notes,
Thank
too.
you. Tickets are on talk. The 21 producers are Rococo, Pacer Terre, Monochrome, Iwi, or It Is What It Is, Canero, Lone Madrone, Barton Family, Rava, Giornata, Union Sacre, Tablas Creek, Via Creek, Boots, Thatcher, Adelaida, Absolution, Alta Colina, Brecken, Carn, said that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Noli, and Hubba.
That is a lineup.
We got a lineup.
that like elite.
That is like
It's going to be a
just like
fun party.
that's just like that's super awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you're just to put the literal best white wines made in Paso all in the same building for this price, and there's food. The food is a la carte on top of it, but for that price to get what'll probably end up being, I think 60 is the minimum white, so there might be as many as 80 to 100 there, plus the beautiful Rava grounds. It's amazing.
Yeah, cannot wait for this event. This is happening on August 1st. We have Natalie Brown from Rococo, Ryan Pease from Paso Terre. We got Dave here from Monochrome. This is going to be a great day. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you so
Appreciate it,
much for
Adam.
bringing the white wine and bringing the
Absolutely.
knowledge here. Love it.
Thank you.
It's The Pour with Adam Montiel. We taste it, we spill it, we leave it all on the table. You can hear The Pour in its entirety on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, and wherever you get your podcasts. For more, visit adammontiel.com.